you guys so much for joining us today. We are here. We are on time. We have no technical difficulties. Won't God do it? Because you can't tell me he ain't here. So, here we are. I want to thank everybody for coming, for showing up. It's so appreciative to me. If you haven't, please share out the live. We are about to get into a great story today. This is my dear friend, Keshia. I met her. We just started. I'm not supposed to cry.
Don't start, because look, I'm already like thinking about it. Yeah.
This is what happens when you know the people that you're doing the interview with. So, I don't know how me and Keshia actually met. I think she just inboxed me. I was in a ton of I know we just started, like, we not even 5 minutes into this.
I remember how, if you want me to just.
Okay, yes, then you please talk about it.
So it's a little bit kind of fast forward in the story, but I ended up, after my failed transfer, I started trying to research. I knew nobody in doing IVF. When I say nobody, I mean nobody. And so I started researching, and the first group I found was Daughters of Hannah. And I went in Daughters of Hannah, and I made a post, and I was just kind of asking about donor. At that point, I was doing donor, and that's when they said and I think you had just started the group. It was kind of new, if I remember correctly. And so that's how I found the group. I didn't want to fast forward, but yeah, that was coming. But yeah,
right.
I found Daughters of Hannah first, and then they recommended your group.
It was interesting enough. I was talking to one of the creators here, and he was asking me. He actually pulled me up and was talking, and he said, what made you decide to start this? And I said, because I started this group, I started this mission to do things is because, one, I just couldn't find anybody that looked like me. And so we were all in like a TTC group. We were all in this group. We were all in that group. And the first thing that they tell you when you're starting to do this and you're in these TTC groups, and there's a ton of them, even for Black and Brown, there's about 3 or 4 of them. They always tell you that don't let them tell you that you need donor eggs. They told me that, and I got my baby. And that's great. But what about the women that doesn't happen for? And so, it almost like makes you feel ashamed to even want to do this or even have the idea of contemplating about it, because everyone tells you that, girl, my grandmama got pregnant when she was 62. And you're like, that's great for your grandma, but what about me? That's always the thing that always happens is everybody knows an aunt or a sister or somebody in their family who got pregnant at 50. And so many of us hold on to that. And when we can make the necessary adjustments in order to maybe change the trajectory or change the mindset of maybe this is what I do need to build my family. And so Keshia and I just kind of got close. We both were basically on the same path. We were both looking for affordable ways. It was the middle of COVID, and we were just trying to figure out how to pay for this. And so it's kind of how our story just meshed together, because when I tell you this is my partner in crime, we was on a mission, okay? We was on a mission to figure out how to do this without spending a lot of money. And we both did it. We both actually did that. So I can't thank everyone enough for just showing up and being here. If figured it out is a person, you looking at it. We figured it out, baby. We figured it out quick. Okay.
I wish I would have found you sooner before, because I was 20,000 down before I found you to figure it out.
Right. Yeah. So why don't we get started? I don't know where you want to start at. If you want to start from the beginning of why you even needed to, what was happening with you and why you even had to go this route, go ahead and just take it away.
So I'm going to try to keep my story as brief as possible, just to be respectful of time. I'll do a high high overview because my entire journey, I documented it. When I say from the entire, so if anybody's interested from the start to now, I documented on Instagram. So my journey started back in about 2017. Me and my husband, we started trying kind of naturally. I pretty much, I guess I should have known I was infertile because I was like never got pregnant, you know, ever, like no birth control, just never got pregnant. So we were trying, and then I ended up going to my OB. I went to my OB. They prescribed some medication. I don't remember the name of it, but whatever they initially give you first to kind of make you have maybe more eggs, you know.
Probably gonna be either Clomid or
Clomid, that was it. So we started with Clomid, and she had told me give that like 6 months, taking Clomid. If you know nothing happened, then she would refer me to a RE. So we do Clomid for about 6 months, nothing happens, and I go to my RE. When I go to my RE, you know, they do the full workup. And again, it's around 2017. I still had tubes, still had ovaries. So when I went to my RE, you know, she's looking at me, and she's at that time in 2017, she's telling me about low ovarian reserve. So my numbers were good enough when I first started to try with my eggs. She told me that it was low, and I was so optimistic. It was another girl at work who was also struggling. You know, she couldn't have kids naturally. And I was like, well, I'm going to do an egg retrieval, and I'm going to get some eggs, and I'm going to give her some too. And she was like, hold on. Yeah. She told me your number. She was like, first you need to secure yourself. So this is how optimistic, how happy, you know, I was, young, naive me. And so, again, I got that diagnosis, and Lord knows we didn't have no money or anything like that. So I ended up getting pregnant naturally.
So just curious question, just so the audience knows, at what age were you when this was happening for you? Because I think that that's an important part of the story that we need to say too as well.
Okay, so what? I'm 37 now. I was born in 87. That would have put me, I gotta do math. What's that?
So you were below 35. I think you were like 32, 33 when you first started then, right?
Yeah, because that was about 5 years ago. So I was about 32.
Okay.
They still, I think, consider me geriatric, but yeah, about 32. And so at the time, after I saw my RE, we ended up getting pregnant naturally. So we naturally conceived. And when we got pregnant naturally, it ended up being in the tube. And so I ended up having a tube removed. And so we waited a little while, and she, you know, my RE was very adamant. She was like, do not go on birth control. Do not get pregnant. Do not. But, you know, naive me, maybe we can do this the natural, cheap way, the free baby like everybody else. After the second pregnancy, hi, Journey's mom. So after the second pregnancy, how it happened, I don't know, but we got pregnant again. And that third pregnancy, I remember I was away. I think I was out of town at a conference. So it was just me. And again, I knew the drill. I knew what to look for. So when I started cramping, really bad cramps, I ended up going to the ER down there. And I knew I was pregnant. And so I was hoping we could catch it in time. So by the time I called my OB, she couldn't get me in until like a day or so later. And when she got me in, hi, Abby. When she got me in, it was too late. And she said, I got to take your tube. So at that point, I ended up losing. So now I have no tubes. So and that was, looking back in hindsight, that was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. The best thing that could have happened to me was losing both of those tubes, because I still to this day would have been trying trying to do it the natural way. So sometimes things happen for a reason to kind of force you to, have to go the route that you're intended to go. So that third time, I don't have any tubes now. So some time has passed. I can't remember exactly how long had passed, but all while this is happening, we're starting to, we knew we were going to save up and try to do IVF, traditional IVF. So we're cutting corners. We're, saving money where we can. We're not eating out. We did really good with saving up. And so by the time I go back to my RE, I think I had to like do everything over again because it had been over a year. So I do everything over again. And by this time, I remember those numbers. It was like, I think I started at 0.22 for AMH. And when I went back, it was 0.09.
Yeah.
And now, when Freedom did her interview last week, Freedom said you breathe at every step, and you really do, because I just grieved the loss of my tubes and, doing it natural. So now when I come back and I'm ready to, sit down and we're ready to discuss IVF, now is you need donor eggs. And my RE back then, no bedside manners, none. When I say no comforting, it was, you don't care where you get the baby from, you just want a baby. That's what she was saying. She was right, but at the time I hadn't processed it and I hadn't accepted it. I wanted a baby with my eggs. That's what I wanted. That's what I envisioned. And so at the time, I'm upset, I'm crying. I remember I had a meltdown at work. I had just had an appointment and I went back to work, and I was very open about my journey, very open about everything. They knew, they knew it all. And I remember being at work, and selfish me said, if I can't use my eggs, you can't use your sperm. So I had told my husband, I said, if I can't use my eggs to have a baby, you can't use your sperm. And he didn't accept that. So at that time, I went into work and I just had a meltdown. I'm talking about, I don't know where it came. It just came out of nowhere. I just started crying. And at the time, my supervisor, she brought me in and she told me, she said, I'm trying to remember exactly how she said it, but I think she said something like, you're not hopeless. You still have hope. You're not hopeless. So it took me a while to process using donor eggs. It took me a while. I wasn't ready for that. I wasn't ready. Again, my husband was totally against using, double donor eggs and donor sperm. So I eventually get on the bandwagon. And I accept that we are going to do, that I'm going to use donor eggs. And at the time, it's 2017 is when I started. Now, we ended up saving up enough where I could afford, I think I could only afford 3 eggs. 3. And Sharonda's the expert. So Sharonda, tell them what I should have been expecting from 3 eggs.
So everyone goes through this. We deal with this a lot of times in the group, and they'll always ask how many they should get. My recommendation is always to do one, as many as you can afford. So, and this is just statistics. By the way, I'm not a doctor. I just read a lot. So, and we've had people like even say like, oh, my friend is going to donate her eggs to me and she's only going to give me 1 egg. And we're like, girl, tell her to keep that egg. And that's not even being mean. It's just the reality of it. So any clinic that sells eggs, usually they're going to sell them in batches or lots. Lots are usually going to be between 6 to 8. If you're lucky, you can get 6, you can get 9. My recommendation is always to do 16. And basically, I knew someone who was like, I just hung with this one girl who was like pretty smart. And she just basically said, for every 3 eggs, you can basically say that's going to be probably 1 embryo that you'll get. So a lot of 6 to 8 eggs is going to yield you at best. Are you okay?
I'm okay.
Okay. It's going to yield you at best. It's going to be 1 to 3 embryos is what you're going to be yield to. So 3 eggs, essentially, you're probably going to get 1. And then if you get 2, you're lucky if all 3 of them become, that's just like amazing. But usually 3 eggs will probably get you 1 to 2. 1 is going to be the safest probably that you'll get. And then you run into an issue of whether it's going to be the grade or high quality. Because again, every egg You have to think about it as just even like naturally. So every ovulating woman who does, and you try to conceive, every egg that you produce is, that's why people don't end up being pregnant that month, because something, these two didn't get together and they didn't work out. So just how you just kind of have to remember, just even just regular, just ordinary, when people are trying, everything doesn't work out, so you have to think about the same way. So 6 to 8 eggs is what they're going to give you. I always say at least do 8, and then if you can do more and you can afford more, do 16. A lot of people think, well, I don't want all these embryos, and what I say to them is, let's worry about that when we get there. Let's get the baby first, and then we'll worry about, if you have all these extras, because the honest to God truth is you may not have extras. We've seen that before too as well.
Right. So, and that aligned with what my RE said. She had already prepped me. One, two. You're very blessed. So
Yeah, you're lucky.
And they only used 3. I only had 3 different egg donor agencies to choose from. And when I tell you, even now, I guarantee you right now, they got the same old donors. They did not have a lot to choose from. I mean, it was horrible. And one point I want to make is, well, I'll get to that in a second. So anyway, we purchased the 3 eggs. When they 2 of them ended up fertilizing, I did a transfer on day 5. And I also say I went through this all alone because I wanted to surprise everybody. I wanted to pop out. I wanted to have some sense of normalcy. So I didn't tell anybody when my transfer was. Only me and Tio, only me and my husband knew. I was still going to work every day. I would just, because the clinic was really close to my job, so I would just leave, just to go, do what I needed to do and come back to work. And so I went through everything all alone. And when I did the transfer, Tio, I think he came and met me for some reason, but he had to go do something at work. So I just went home and, everything is, business as usual. Nobody knows anything. And the day after I did my transfer, so I had one embryo growing on day 5. And the following day I get a phone call and they're like, the embryo arrested. I didn't even know what arrested meant. So now the pressure's on. But everything is riding on this transfer. And I just got some bad news that, if this don't work, I at least thought I had a plan B. I could try again. But now I'm at square one. Y'all, it took me 4 years to get to that point. 4 years, about $20,000 was, I say at least 15. I can count up, like I can go back and trace 15,000 where I started, but I knew it had to be more than that. So everything is riding on this transfer. And the transfer failed. It failed. And when it failed, I felt like, and my Tio was so mad, but I feel like the way he felt, because I was like, if that other embryo arrested or it wasn't growing right on day 6, who's to say that the one that they put inside me was, decent quality?
Right.
And so when I went to, I don't remember the name of it, but when you get your follow-up and they kind of talk about what happened and everything. So I go to that. And I'm in Augusta, Georgia. So it was my RE. She was training 2 other OBs to become REs. So some other doctors in there. And I went there for one reason and one reason only. I wanted to know about the quality of the embryo they put inside me. That's all I wanted. That's all I cared about. And so when I go there, that was my only question. You got any questions? Yes. I'm just wanting to know about the quality of the embryo. She looked at me like I had 2 heads. I mean, she was looking at me crazy. And again, it's 2 other doctors in there, and they're OBs because they're already licensed. They just have to do, I think, like 3 years training to become REs. So I'm like, I want to know about the quality of the embryo. She's still looking at me crazy, but I'm adamant and I'm upset. I'm like, no, I want to know. And she's like, and I'm like, I want to know about the quality of the embryo. And so she go back and she get her paperwork. She's looking through the folder and she's like, oh, something happened. I don't have the notes. I go into, let me call the embryologist. So RE is reproductive endocrinologist.
Endocrinologist.
Yes.
So they're gonna help you. So your OB, your regular OB, she was standing on business.
Well, I stood on it.
So most of the time you'll start with your OB, and then your OB will help you for so many times. So if you came earlier, that's when they'll give you Clomid. They'll maybe give you Femera. They will give you those. But after a certain amount of time, and you don't conceive, they will send you to our RE reproductive endocrinologist, and that's going to be at a fertility clinic, because at that point it's above their pay grade. So your OB will do some necessary blood work, and they may even do what's called a HSG, where they will check your tubes. But as far as like the rest of that stuff, like IVF and that's concerned, that's where your RE takes place and comes into the equation.
Yes. So again, she's looking at me crazy, but I'm adamant. I mean, she was gonna answer that question. That was my only question, and I was not letting up. And it got so crazy, y'all. So she goes and she's like, let me call the embryologist. She calls him, and he just starts talking, y'all. And I think he was rattling off and saying stuff she didn't want him to say. She hung up on him mid conversation. It sounded like it wasn't, it was in blood anyway. And she just hangs up on the embryology mid sentence. She's like, both of us cannot talk. And she just hung up the phone on him. Because I think she was trying to stop him from whatever he was saying. And she just hung up the phone. The most, like, it was so traumatic. And I was better before I went there, but that really that was the one thing that made me change clinics. And again, that was another necessary. It had to happen. Just like I had to lose my tubes. And when I lost that ovary, so now I've got, half the eggs I normally would have had. All this was necessary and it had to happen. So that forced me to change clinics because I just was not going to deal with her. And I should add that so many people had told me to change, but I just felt like it would delay me in the process. When we get on this process, we don't want it, like, we've already been delayed. So I don't want to wait for anything. Whatever happens, we don't want to push back our transfers, none of that. And so I just felt like if I was going to change clinics, I would have lost so much time, but that couldn't have been further from the truth. So now at this point, I'm heartbroken. Everything I had is gone. And it took so long to get to that point. It took me 4 years to get there. And less than 20 days, like a cycle is what? Maybe like about 20 days or so?
Yeah, and I mean, I like that you're talking about this, because the raw thing is you get so close to that point, and then like it's all taken away. And you have to start all the way over, and it's like, what do you do now?
Yeah, so I was broken. When I tell you I was broken, I was broken. And I say this and you don't believe me, but there is no Nia without you. Nia wouldn't exist if I didn't find you. Nia did not exist. I had no hope. There was no way I was gonna be able to save up again. I was still paying for those babies that didn't make it. I still had payments on that. So at that point, I had nothing. I had nothing. I knew I wasn't gonna get no scholarships. I had, tried to apply for some scholarships. I never ever was selected, and I felt like that was almost just throwing money away. You pay the $50 or whatever the application fee is, and so at that point, I was broke. I didn't know what to do, where to go, and so the transfer was in February 10th, 2021 was the transfer, and so at this point, again, I know nothing. And I don't know anybody doing IVF, certainly not nobody like me. I have no community. I have nobody to talk to, no friend. You know, they don't understand. They don't understand. So when I finally found Daughters of Hannah, I don't know how I found it, but I found that group. And I saw all these ladies in there and I see their stories and I see, you know, it gave me a glimmer of hope. But there was nobody in there that really knew about donor. So I'm like, I asked the question, I'm like, you know, I can't remember exactly how I asked, but I need to go search that group to find out. And that's when they pointed me to you. And timing couldn't have been more perfect. It couldn't have been more perfect because you was on your journey, you was in the height of it. And when Jeremy got that job, thank y'all. When Jeremy got that job, and I saw it and I said, I can do this. I can do that. I can get a job. And I went from, I'm gonna give y'all my timeline. I went from 2017 to 2021, 3 eggs. I don't even call them embryos. I don't think they were viable. 3 eggs. We'll say an embryo, but I believe it was a dud. From 2017 to 2021, 1 embryo failed transfer. Met Sharonda around, I'd say about March or April. Jeremy got that job, and the community, the group was kind of in process of being built. Your group, right? And I feel like I came at a perfect time because so many people were sharing all these resources and everything was being built. And everybody, I mean, anything you needed in that group was there. You needed to, it was RE in that group. It's doctors in that group. It's lawyers in that group. It's therapists in that group. Everybody was there. So no matter what you asked, you know, where can I find a therapist? You know, my RE said this. Baby, we had experts at our fingertips. In that community, it was being built. And again, I got lucky because Sharonda's looking for a donor. Same time, I'm looking for a donor. And the group that I'm referring to is called Every Shade of Infertility. It's an IVF group that specifically deals with third-party reproduction. And when I tell you, you'll never find a group better than that. It's a sisterhood. Those are my sisters, my friends for life. I mean, forever indebted. And so when I found that group, and you were looking, and you knew every donor. And I think I mentioned, you know, like you could call them almost by name, a donor number. Oh, such and such got some black donors right now. I mean, you were on it. When I say knew every donor, knew every place, knew everything. So I got lucky because I had all this, you know, access and these resources at my fingertips. So by March, went from hopeless to no hope, from no hope to hope. So I ended up, you know, figuring out I never left my primary job, but I was able to work a second job. I got insurance benefits. I started working in July of 2021. By September of 2021, same year, less than a year later, I had frozen donor eggs, and then I had a live donor. So I do want to kind of backtrack a little bit.
So, yeah, what made you, because I know like when we were talking, you had actually went to a bank and you had actually purchased eggs. Is that correct? From a frozen bank?
Yes. So I went to an egg bank and I purchased eggs. So I knew now that I had coverage, I knew I needed to utilize the resources the best way, be efficient with them. So one of the most expensive parts of this process is like creating the embryos or getting the eggs. That's the most important or most expensive part. The transfers, you know, not as expensive. So when I got the insurance coverage, it would have covered me for basically 2 rounds of getting eggs. So I had gotten the frozen eggs. And when I had gotten the frozen eggs, I don't know what it was or what spoke to me, but something said, ask Kosha. And Kosha is my younger cousin. And I should mention during this process from 2017 to 21, I asked people. I actually asked Kosha's older sister. And now the time when I started my journey, Kosha was only 16 years old when I started. So I had asked, and people will say, yeah, if I could, I would, or they don't realize like we be serious, like I'm not playing. And so I ended up, I don't know what said it, what voice hit me, but something said, ask Kosha. And I asked Kosha, and I didn't even know how to ask. And this is another part of being vulnerable. Sometimes you have to kind of just put your pride to the side, be vulnerable, put your needs out there, tell what you need. Like the universe wants to help you. And I was vulnerable and I asked Kosha and she didn't think twice. Kosha did not hesitate. She didn't think twice. So those frozen eggs that I had already secured, I ended up donating those to a woman in the group who will remain nameless. But again, this is why it's important to share your story, to be vulnerable. She put up in the group and she said, how can I ask, when I don't believe I can receive, or something along those lines. I don't remember exactly. But, how can I even, even think about asking? How can I even think, I don't even think it's possible. And I saw that message and something just resonated with me and I was drawn to it. And those eggs that I had, those frozen eggs, I gave them to her, and she's a mama now.
She sure is. She sure is.
This is less than, all of this happened in like a year span. And she's about to make somebody else a mama. So
what?
Yeah, she's about to make somebody else a mama. It's so beautiful. Like, I can't stress enough. Share your story. You don't have to share your story, but find a safe place. Put your needs out there. You don't have to tell your whole life story, but you can say, it's hard for me, but I need this, or I'm looking for this. And, people will help you. So those, I got some frozen eggs. Again, I gave them away. They were not, hi Sherry. I didn't have any type of connection to them. They were fertilized, not with my husband's sperm. So I asked Kosha, and Kosha agreed. Kosha, do you want to come join? She just stepped in. So Kosha agreed to cycle for me. So get up close so the people can see you. So she agreed to cycle for me.
Hey sis. And so I think this is a perfect timing because she's here now, and then you can tell us what the process was like to donate your eggs. So what did you have to do in order to even start the process?
I think we had to go. Well, I was on Depo-Provera at first, so we had to get off of that. And I went to the doctor to see if I was actually able to donate. I was on Depo-Provera, so went to the doctor. He said that they would have to do testing. And then we went to another doctor, and they was like, well, yeah, you just get off of it and it should work. So got off of it, we went to do the testing, and they said that, okay, everything's good. So I guess we started the process. What was I taking? I know taking like pills or something, or was it shots?
Yeah, I don't remember her exact protocol, but yeah, she did pills and shots. And we started the process. So I secured the second job in July. Kosha ended up cycling for me. She had her retrieval at the end of September. I remember because the embryos went off for testing on October the 1st. So the process started probably, maybe around like August or so, I think.
Yeah, because you guys started, because my donor cycled in June or July. And she definitely started after my donor had
Yes.
cycled.
Yeah. So it was fast. Now I do want to just go back and backtrack a little bit because I want you all to just realize how God worked, how He worked this out for me. Again, from 2017 to 21, I've already spent about $15,000. I ain't got no baby. I ain't got no baby. I ain't got no friends. I ain't got no sisterhood. I have nothing. I find this group, I find these resources. Now, less than a year later, I've given away 4 babies or 4 embryos, good quality grade embryos. I've, cycled my cousin. I have 8 babies, 4 boys, 4 girls. So, in less than a year, like everything turned completely around. It was an overflow. And Ronnie, you always saying, let me get my bucket to catch this overflow. It was an overflow. My life changed that quick. And I know it sounds cliche, that if he'll do it for me, he absolutely will do it for you. Like I am not, there's nothing special about me, nothing that I did, I'm not deserving of it. And I want to take the time because we didn't plan it. We didn't plan it at all, and how it worked out. Me and Sharonda had the same transfer date. We had the same transfer date. So I'm in Colorado getting a baby, putting my baby inside of me. She's in Utah putting her baby inside of her. And I don't know how she could still encourage me because Sharonda is supposed to have a Nia. Sharonda should have a baby running around. And even in the midst of her storm, because I remember I had planned my trip to Jamaica. My husband's Jamaican. So we always go back to Jamaica every year. We go back to Jamaica for the Christmas holidays. Yes, he's coming through Ty. So she's encouraging me while she's going through her storm. I don't remember exactly when you miscarried. I don't know if it was before or after Christmas.
It was before, so I started bleeding probably like a week or 2 before Christmas, and then right before Christmas I miscarried. So and I remember you were there in Jamaica and stuff, and I think you had a little bit of a bleed, and I told you that was
Yes.
that's not the same, that and I was like, you'll be fine. She's
Yes.
coming. I was like, it's your time. You have been doing it like a lot longer than I had. And so I just confidently knew that she was going to come. And I was like, do not take my trauma with you. Like, you cannot take that. Like, this is what I have to go through, but she is coming. Aretha was coming.
And it don't seem fair. Like, it don't seem fair. And it's hard. Like, how do I share this with her, knowing that she's the reason I'm here? How do I, tell her anything about the pregnancy? It just felt wrong. It felt cruel. It felt bad, It felt bad. And I think you actually said something to me. Maybe, I don't know if I got quiet or you noticed or I wasn't updating, because I was updating on Instagram.
Right.
And I documented the journey on there, but I think you said something to me that it was okay to share with you.
So I'm definitely a firm believer of like protecting your peace. So I never got triggered because, let's be clear, Keshia and I talk every single day. Like, we talk all day long. And so if I'm talking to her, which is something that I loved about Keshia, is she always asks me, do you want an update? Like, do you want to know what's going on? And I would say, yes, like, yes, I want to know. But what I couldn't do, and it's really funny, the trigger that I would have, I could not scroll on her time. Like, I couldn't, like, just do casual scroll and it pop up, because that would immediately trigger me, because every update was the same update that I was going to have for my baby. And so I could not see that on my timeline, because if I saw she was 6 months, I would be like, okay, well, I'm 6 months. I would be 6 months too. And so I told her flat out, I was like, girl, I hid your page. Girl, you can, it's like, you can tell me, and Sherry and like all of them, I would say, I can see your update, like because I'm ready to receive it. But to see it on my timeline when I'm not ready, I just couldn't do it. So I would just be like, and I just let her know. And honestly, I have not went on your page to see like anything until I started doing your promos. And I was like, I missed a lot. I missed like your whole pregnancy because I did not see it on your timeline, because I literally I was like, girl, hide. I don't want to see it. But I knew every step of what was going on. I just could not see it live.
I just imagine it just popping up on you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it triggered me. It really did. And then, and it was like, girl, no. But I knew. I was like, tell me about the ultrasounds. I did want to know. Tell me about this. But just to casually just see it, and you know, that was just me. And I let her know. I was like, girl, you can tell me in the DM all day. I do not want to see it on my timeline. And I am letting you know I personally blocked you.
So,
you are personally blocked.
I'm just grateful that, you know, you still shared that with me, because I don't know how I would have been able to navigate the two. Yes, I'm happy for you, but I'm sad for me, you know? And it's hard. Like, I never got triggered. What about over here? I never get triggered by infertiles. Anybody infertile announce a pregnancy, I never get triggered by that. Now those fertiles, I got a problem with them fertiles.
You got a problem with you fertiles?
I'm triggered by y'all. I'm triggered. And I remember so many ladies was getting pregnant. Oh my God. No joke. It's some ladies on my timeline that got 10, 11 kids. And I'm talking about every year, you know, I'm seeing announcements. So I call them the fertiles. Yeah, the fertiles.
Listen, y'all are triggering, okay? Like, listen, I'm glad. Listen, kudos to you, for real. And I literally and I will tell you how serious I am about it, because mental health for me, like, especially in this journey, is so important. And so when I tell you, and they're not kidding you, I really run, and I think you guys know just how I run this space here just on TikTok. I run the most supportive group on Facebook, hands down. If you got a question, and it's a lot of us in this chat right now, and they will, because I'll tell you a joke, but I'll never tell you a lie.
Yeah.
You can't put anything down and it not be answered within a matter of minutes.
And if no one answered it, it's there. It's been answered, but it's there. It's anything you could think of. Any question you got, you know?
So what happens is, because of that, everyone who wants a supportive group come in there, and then they'll start talking. And my OGs, and my OGs know who they are, because I see some OGs in the chat, will politely message me and say, you need to shut this down, because she talking about her own eggs, and I don't like it. And I'll be like, oh, okay. And I'll go in there. So I literally, because I saw some posts, I don't like to call nobody out, but I will make a post and I will make it quick. We are happy for you if your own eggs work. But this space right here is not the talk about trying with your own eggs. This space here is for that support, so that you know that it's okay to ask my cousin Keshia to be my egg donor, and it's okay. It's okay to ask my cousin Kosha to be my egg donor, and that's okay. And how do I navigate those steps?
Yeah.
That is what that space is for. I feel like I'm less than a woman, and we are here to tell you, girl, this is just tissue. But the blood, sweat, and tears, do you not understand? That's where Go Get Your Baby came from. Because they know when I first started this, I would be like, there's a donor at such and such, go get your baby. There is a job that pays for donor eggs, go get your baby. There is a clinic here that does X, Y, and Z. What you supposed to do?
Go get your baby.
Go get your baby.
And anybody saying that you feel less than, how could you? Yeah, you guys of all people know the struggle that we face. We are more than like to the fight we have to fight to get these babies. You should never feel less than. Ever. You should never feel less than. You should feel stronger than most because they didn't go through half of what you went through. And if they did have to go through that, they probably wouldn't have, babies themselves. So I always say, we're more than, like, we're not less than, we're more than. It's a lie. It's okay to cry. It's emotional. It's hard. This journey is not for the weak. It's not. It's hard.
And you guys had to travel, right? So you had to travel to and tell us about the clinic that you guys used in order to do the egg retrieval and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. So yeah, we ended up traveling to Colorado. So I was actually in Atlanta that week, kind of leading up to the time for us to travel. And so we were kind of timing it where it actually was going to work out that about time I was getting ready to leave from Atlanta, we would just head out to Colorado. So that's what we did. Sharona helped time it too. I mean, she might not be an RE, but if you give her those numbers and tell her what those follicles are doing, you could almost put money on her. And I wish I could go back, like, we're in 24 now. I wish I could scroll back to 21, but when I tell you Sharona was 100% spot on with how many eggs would be retrieved, how many we should expect from that, like, that's her, like, she good with that. So we ended up flying out to Colorado. Tell them about your retrieval process, because I think retrievals normally take, I don't know, maybe like 20, 30 minutes, but it took a really long time waiting on Coach. I started getting nervous.
They put me in like the obstetric chair where you put your legs up. They gave me like a gown. I had to take everything off. They gave me a gown, and I had to put my feet up. And everything I remember is just going to sleep. And I remember waking me up, hey, like, you're done. And then they kind of told me how many they had retrieved and everything. I probably can't find a picture now, but I actually took a picture of the board. So I was like, hey, Keshia, look, this is what we did. So I was excited.
Yeah, because it's we.
It's we.
Yeah.
I was excited, Keshia, this is what we did. Look. So, I mean.
Now, being an egg donor, and now that she's here, what are your feelings like? Do you feel bonded to Nia? Do you feel like she's yours? Like, what are your feelings about, like, seeing someone that has your DNA, like, walking around?
I really don't. I look at her like my little cousin. So, like, I guess when the conversation happened with Keshia, because I was just at home. I don't remember what I was doing, but I was at home. And Keshia was like, hey, Keshia, would you be willing to donate your eggs? And I was like, yeah, you can have them. She was like, you sure? I was like, yeah, I'm not using them. You can have them. She was like, you sure, Keshia? Do you understand what this entails? I was like, yeah, you can have them. I was like, I'm not going to use them. And I mean, from then on there, because like Keshia, she's basically taking care of me my whole life. Like when I was small, every weekend I was over her house. I was always with her. You find Keshia, you find me. It was always us together. So when the fact that she's taking care of me my whole life, I had no trouble or no problem, helping her with something that she needed. So when I look at Nia, I look at her like my little cousin. She's like my little cousin. I guess I don't have an attachment to her as like a mama daughter because I mean she has a mama, so that spot's already filled. And just to make sure that, or just to grant Keshia with the ability to do that. I mean, she's been a mama for the longest, but to actually have her own baby is
That's
Oh, that's
amazing. That's amazing. Because I think like that needs to be talked about and it needs to be said because, you know, just because you donate something, you know, you're not in the day to day. Like she basically what you're saying is when she see you, she don't gravitate to you. She gravitates to the person who takes care of her all the time. And that would be Keshia, who is her mom. So, and we tell people that all the time that it doesn't matter, but I think it's important to have that conversation that we're having right now to say, hey, I did this and it was okay. Like, you don't wake up thinking like, is Nia gonna eat today? You know that she's in good hands. You know that what you did was a good deed. And so for you, it seems like, yeah, she may look like you. And I see like some very similar. Me and Keshia talk about it all the time. And I'm like, is it just me? Or does she look like Kosha like right here? But y'all like now looking at y'all two
yeah,
together, like y'all have like this similar features here. But she makes this face, and I'm like, that's Kosha face.
yeah.
Do you feel like something when you see her sometimes?
she mean mugs. She mean mugs 24/7. She got a bad mean, and it's crazy because I mean mug and I don't know I'm doing it. So I don't think she knows she's doing it either.
Yeah.
But it's crazy.
That's what
She
I'm
has
like.
Kosha's hair, her
She
mouth,
has
like
her
her.
hair.
Yeah, she has her hair, like her face, like I don't know, like I'm gonna find it's a picture of you.
I got a baby picture. Mom was like, "Is that Neil?" I don't know no more. That me. She was like, "That look like Neil."
Yeah. It's another one that she just took where I gotta find your picture. It's gonna pop up on my memories or something. But yeah, she has a lot of Kosha's, features, which, that doesn't bother me. Now I will be honest and say something that used to trigger me that I knew I had to work through it. Sometimes Kosha would say, like, my baby. And I knew it was no harm in it because I say that about my cousin all the time. I actually like nickname my cousin like my Adam baby. Like when I call him, I say my Adam baby. Where's my Adam baby? So our family everybody navigates it. Like everybody knows their role. Her mom, who technically, I guess if you looking biologically, technically grandma, is aunt. Like everybody navigates it. Actually, I feel like people forgot it. I don't think people remember it anymore, to be honest. And baby Grant, I do want to address that with how do you navigate it. I remember kind of early in my journey. Well, after Nia was born, I've always been an open book about it. Always from day one. Everybody knew I was doing donor. People at my job, I had them helping me look for donors. And I remember on my infertility page, and I'm posting a stories, and I said, "Here's Nia with her aunt," and I put, kind of in parentheses, like my cousin's mom or whatever. And again, this is my infertility page. There was this heifer that actually said, commented or DM, replied to the story like her grandma. And I don't get ugly often, but I will get ugly. So no, it's not her grandmother. You wouldn't have known who that was had I not said it. You wouldn't have knew. So family navigates it, friends navigate it. It's actually become so commonplace, and I did worry how that would. Okay, Ty, I worried how it was gonna be. The navigation with everybody understand their role and what Nia was to them, but it was a true test because again, I used to get triggered when Kosha would say "my baby." But I never told her that triggered me, and I didn't want her to stop saying it because I knew it was my insecurity. Anybody can say that's my baby, but when your donor said it hit different. Like Like it kind of, I know, biologically, yeah, but it hit different. If anybody else could say that, and I won't bat an eye, I won't flinch, I won't think twice. So I knew it was my insecurity that I needed to work through. And baby Grant, I'm gonna tell you a little story how what kind of solidified it, and I was no longer triggered. We were at church. I don't know if you know I knew, but we were at church one day, and I brought Nia and I don't want to say no names in case it gets, in case this go viral or something. But somebody, a church member, whispered. Well, they had asked me, was it my baby? But again, I'm very open. I always had shared, Coach was gonna be my donor. The whole process, everybody already knew. And so once they found out it was my baby, I remember them asking you. They was like, "That's your baby." And you like, "No." And they was like, "Yeah, that's your seed, ain't it? That's your seed." And like, "No, that's not my baby." They was like, "Yeah, that's your seed." But I don't think they knew I heard them or I saw it. But Kosha handled it beautifully. "No, that's not my baby. That's Keisha's baby." So as a fan, yeah, they said that. They didn't know that I was listening, but I was listening. So sometimes people, I don't really want to call it ignorance because it kind of is, but some people really don't know how to, separate the two. But coaches around my husband, yeah, they said it. But I didn't say anything because she handled it and she navigated it well. But um it's normal now. I mean, and Neil, once she's old enough to understand, we told the kids we have two boys. I got two bonus boys. So one is 15 now and one is 9 now. So back when all this was going on, they would have been like 6 and 12. And we, shared it with them, but I don't think they truly understood or understand. So I do need to start having like regular conversations with them so that they fully, truly understand because the 9-year-old Malik, he just walked in the house maybe like last week. I don't know where this came from, but he just walked in and he said, "Keisha, is Nia biologically your baby?" And I said, "Where did that come from, Malik? What do you mean?" He said, "I know you went to the doctor to get her, so is she biologically your baby?" And I didn't really have an answer for it. I didn't really have an answer for it. I was like, yeah. It's like, and it made me change a lot of things because used to be like whenever I introduced my kids, I would always refer to them as like my bonus babies or my step babies because I didn't want to take away from their mom or like, feel like I was overstepping or, like trying to, I don't know, maybe not honor her. So I would always refer to them as my bonus babies or step baby. But then I would have Nia with me. And I would, and at first I would start to say, "This is my biological baby," but I'm like, "This ain't my biological baby." So then I would start going this whole spiel about she was a donor egg baby and they don't care. So I just had to stop my whole introduction of, it just changed how I navigate things. But everybody knows their role. Like I don't think this could have turned out any better than it did. And when I say everything was necessary and everything had to happen the way it happened, like I had to lose my tubes to force me to, move on to IVF. I had that first transfer had not to work. It couldn't have worked. If that transfer worked, I wouldn't have had Nia, the baby that I have now. I would have had a different baby, but I love Nia. I wouldn't have met any of you. I would have met none of you. My story would have been closed. It would have been over. I probably would have been one and done. Now I got 7 on ice. It's just, I guess I'm just saying this to say to you all that whatever you're going through now, no matter like how far away it seems, like your dream seems like it won't be a reality, you're facing roadblock after roadblock, you're not getting anywhere, you just got bad news after bad news. Take it from me, it's all necessary. Yes, yes, that same grace, the same. Y'all, I did nothing to deserve this. I did nothing. Actually, I don't deserve it. When I was in that having that last ectopic pregnancy, I said some really mean things to God. And to be honest, that second time around, I didn't really put a whole lot of trust into God, you know. You're welcome. I hope that this just encourages somebody. Again, I went from in less than a year losing out on $20,000, hopeless, helpless, to now, you know, friendship, community, a baby, babies on ice, seeing another mom, you know, become a baby, seeing her helping somebody else going to become a baby. So yeah, God's, you're right where you need to be. You're right where you need to be. This is gonna reach who it needs to reach. It's not over. I mean, no, I was done. When I tell you there was no hope, I had none. I had no hope. I love you too. I had no hope. I mean, it was just, it's almost like a miracle, you know? It couldn't have worked out better for me. And I can't wait to see why God is delaying you, Sharonda. I cannot wait to just see it and it blow your mind and you say, this is why, this is why. Yes. Oh, congratulations.
Tell me what clinic you use. So we'll wait because I want you to tell and then we'll start asking questions. I want you to tell because you got to tell the story about baby Aretha that we thought at one point in her pregnancy that are we naming this baby Aretha or are we just still like what are we doing here?
The doctor named the baby Aretha.
She was this close.
I'm at my transfer, and don't give up hope, Aretha. I'm at my transfer, and around this time, 2021, I guess that's when the movie Aretha had come out, but he had just watched that movie, Respect. And he was like, I'm gonna name this baby Aretha. And so I'm the worst with names. I can't pick a name or name something. I can't even pick my Instagram name. So for like almost up until on the day of my baby shower is when Nia finally got a name. Sharonda's daughter named Nia because I had no name. We referred to her as baby Aretha for a solid 8 months.
Time.
The whole time.
Every time we gave her a name, y'all, I kid you not. I'll be like, what about this name? Girl, no, I fought her in high school. I can't name my baby that. And I'll be like, okay. And I'll be like, what about this name? She's like, girl, no, that's my man. That's his ex-girlfriend. And I was like, okay. I literally picked, I was like, can we pick a name at this point? Like, what are we gonna do? And I was like, are we naming this baby Aretha? She was like, it sounds good to me. Her name is Aretha. I was like, her name cannot be Aretha. Could not be Aretha.
It was gonna be Aretha.
It was gonna be Aretha.
It was gonna be Aretha. Call her Riri. That was gonna be it.
I used Mia. So that's how it all transpired. I was like, what about this name? What about this name? Because she knew for a fact that her middle name she was like, all I know is her middle name is going to be Grace.
Yeah.
And so we would say a name and she was like, but that don't go with Grace. I was like, Jesus.
We're gonna have to get it together.
We're gonna have to get this together. Like, the baby needs a name. And we're at her shower and I'm like, look, she coming in like a month. We need a name. Yeah. And so we just started going through it and seriously, we were there for about 20 minutes. She was like, no. Kosha was there. No.
Yeah.
Girl, that don't even sound right. I don't like that name. That don't go with this. I was like, oh my gosh.
It's gotta flow.
Lo and behold, my little one says, what about Nia? And her whole face changed. She said, that's it.
Yeah. And
that's her name.
Mm-hmm. And we did it. We
Thank you,
did it.
Jesus. I was like, oh, thank you, Jesus. The baby
We
got a
got her
name.
name. We got her name. Yes. Yes.
We got a name. Thank you, Jesus.
Whew, it's
And
okay.
and that name, now seeing her, couldn't be more perfect for her. It's so perfect for her.
Yeah.
Every time I see her, I'm like, that was meant to be her name.
Yeah. Everything worked out the way it was supposed to. Everything. Um, Somebody did ask what clinic. I use CNY.
Mhm.
So they're in Colorado, CNY, Colorado. I considered like I know I eventually want to have another baby when I get my life together. Um, I know I eventually want to have another baby, but um, I'm thinking about moving my babies to Florida just because it'll be closer and then I can make a vacation of it. So yeah, okay, yeah, CNY. So that was my clinic.
Yeah.
But I had the frozen donor eggs that I donated. They were created with Utah, and I cannot stress enough a good lab, because remember when we was talking about how many embryos you should expect from a lot of eggs? We got four quality embryos from 8 eggs, so that's unheard of. So if I had to go back and create babies again, I use Utah. I hope they're not watching this. Edit that out. Edit that out.
Girl, no, we gonna say we stand on business. UFC is the plug. Like
That's the plug, but I
they the
don't want to edit
plug.
that. I remember this name. No. So
No, I'm
yeah.
not editing it out. I stand on business. Like unless they prove me differently, I stand on business. I
Oh,
stand
they're
by
the best.
UFC.
They're the best. I was just saying, if I had to do it again, they definitely would
Yeah.
create my embryos. I didn't use the Utah eggs because,
They weren't from Utah. They were from a frozen egg bank. And
yeah, they were from a frozen egg bank.
tell them what frozen, because you actually like them.
Ovation.
Mhm.
Ovation. Is it donor ovation?
Ovation Fertility is where she got her frozen eggs from.
Ovation fertility. And I didn't use those eggs because something just popped in my head and said, ask Kosha if she'll donate. And so after I secured those frozen eggs, I just had this thought to ask Kosha. And after I had the thought to ask Kosha, I knew I wanted to help other women and other ladies that, I knew I was going to do that. I have this crazy revelation. I talk to Sharonda sometimes that I want to cycle a live donor. And I even had a donor in mind. I want to cycle a live donor and create some different babies, use some different sperm, and give away some more embryos. But I knew I wanted to bless somebody. I just didn't realize I was going to have the means to do it that fast, because it happened quick. So yeah. And in my clinic, the first clinic I worked with, they only had, I think, 3 different egg agencies. And when I tell you, the selection was terrible, and they have the same old donors they had from when I went. What I loved about Ovation Donor Services is they let you customize your egg lot. So sometimes we're torn between, I like this donor, I like donor A, and I like donor B. Well, you can actually customize your lot. You can get 3 eggs from donor A and 3 eggs from donor B, or 2 eggs from A, or you can customize a lot. You can get as many as you want in the egg lot, or as little. So I love them just for that. Um, I don't know, for the fact that you have different options that you can select.
Absolutely. Which is also like, and they actually, I think I remember at the time, they actually had a decent selection of even AA donors. I don't know if it's changed, but I always recommend, if you're looking for a donor, especially frozen, that you try that you sign up for the database for all of them, because most of the time they're free and they change often. So even me, who I have embryos on ice, I still get the notifications, not because I'm looking for one. It's just that I know that some women are still doing that. So I'll even check when I get the alerts that there's a new donor, and I'll post it in the group to say, hey, recently I checked Donor at Bank and they had a ton of AA. Fairfax also has a ton of AA donors right now. but they're doing a good job of trying to diversify because they know that there's a need. But if we keep our voice small, if we keep our voice in small spaces, they don't know that we have a need for it. We have to ask for those things, which is why I promote my clinic, is because, you know, when they realized that I was sending over 800 women to their clinic because of my voice, they made sure that they were starting to get people in. So don't be afraid to ever use your voice. And that's with any clinic that you're with. If you like them and you think that they're excellent and they're not listening to you and you're sending people there, because my clinic, I don't know about y'all's, but my clinic say, how you find out about us? And what do they say? Me.
Yeah.
And so they know, like, okay, you need to have the resources because I'm sending my people there to see you and you need to be there. Yeah. So I think like that's important that you use your voice with your own clinic and say, hey, I can't recommend you to my friends because you don't have nobody that look like me and I'm struggling. If I'm struggling, why would I send somebody else here? So don't be afraid to get, I talked about that last week, and when me and Sherry also talked about that, like, you are the customer and they need to be able to provide the services that you need when it comes to this. And we deserve to have women donate who look like you.
Yes.
You know, because it just makes the story relatable. It makes the story easier. It makes it so that you feel a little bit easier, you know, about doing this route. But if you're getting someone who is not culturally based, that can be very hard for some of us. So, and I am so happy that you brought Kosha on. I want to open the floor up to questions, especially since we do have an egg donor here. And I will also say to this, just because you donate your eggs does not mean that you will no longer be able to have children. You know, it's a choice that you make, but, you know, egg donors go on to have their own children if that's what you want to do, Kosha. I think you already know that, though. I'm sure they told you that when you were doing that. So we definitely want to open the floor to any questions that are there. Right now, we've seen a lot of you guys chatting, and I appreciate that so much because, you know, that just shows that the engagement is there. That means that we are talking about something. We're also letting TikTok know that there is something that needs to be talked about, and they need to put that on the FYP page. So definitely open the floor to any questions that we have. And if not, then we will just close this. I thank you for being transparent. I thank you for always being open and honest. I thank you for being my friend. I thank you for loving me. I thank you for trusting me to share this. She really, truly is. I need her more than she thinks that I do, because, you know, I'm the guru. I'm the support person. I don't, you know, they all think I don't need anything. But when I tell them, like, I'm struggling, they are there. And even like sometimes when Keshia doesn't know what to say, she's like, I'm just going to be honest. I don't know what I'm supposed to say to you. I'm like, just be here. I just need you to be here. I just need you to just tell me that it's going to be okay. And that's what she does for me. So, you're welcome as always. Next week we have Shannon. I promise y'all I won't cry I promise I won't cry next week. I lie. I'm gonna cry. I promise I won't cry. Shannon is another one. I talk about Shannon all the time because even though I created the space, I didn't know that people would actually come to the space. And Shannon, before I believed in this group, believed in me. And so any group that was out there, any woman who was like, I don't know what to do, I saw Shannon on that comment section.
Come over here.
Girl, we done got a space. You better come over here and do it right now. That was Shannon. Okay? I mean, post it. When I tell you post it, Shannon will be like, girl, you need to come over here. We got a space. Yeah. They done made us a space, girl. Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna tell y'all about it. So that was she. I don't know. It'd be 2 o'clock in the morning. I don't care. I just saw my name tag in that group, and at the time when we started, we were just women of color who used donor egg and embryo. Last year around this time, not last year, probably maybe like 6 months ago, I rebranded everything to be underneath an umbrella. So now I have every shade of infertility. I also have every shade of family creation. That's going to be centered around women who want to donate their embryos. So there's a space for that. And then I have every shade after infertility. And that's women who have made it to the other side. So there's a support group for those women. And then I will be coming out soon with every shade of affording infertility. And that's if you are in the journey and you want to find creative ways to pay for it. There will be something coming out very soon, very shortly. So I wanted a brand that I could all make it make sense. So I sat down and I came up with 4 names to kind of do that, to go along with the brand itself. So that way, you know, when you see every shade, you know that's me. Every shade brand, that's me. So we will close out with our usual song if there are no more questions. But Shannon, yes, she will tell her story of, I think I know what resilience is. And then like, I think about Shannon's journey and I'm like, this is a true testament of resilience. Cause baby, if there was an embryo, they had 1 embryo. Shannon was like, all right, bet, I'm gonna try it. We'll see if this will work. And then if it didn't work, she got back in line.
She did.
And she was like, well, I got 2 embryos this time and they didn't work. And she was back in line.
I didn't hear her complain.
And
now
she never complained. She never complained.
And y'all saw my world was shattered after 1 failure. So I can't imagine. So yes. And Grayson is the cutest little boy.
And now we have Grayson. So she's gonna share her story. I think it's only fitting. 35K likes. I ain't mad about it. You guys did amazing with tapping that screen. And I seriously can't thank y'all enough for trusting me, for coming to want to show up, to coming to want to hear these stories. It truly, truly is an honor to be the host of this space.